Welcome back to Colors of Crutch. My name is Max Sternberg, also known as Wounded Satellite, also known as Awake Way Too Fucking Early right now, and I'm joined by my incredible, amazing co-host, live from Las Vegas. It's not Saturday night, it's Max Pfefferman, Italian man. We're doing a different thing today, because he's on a business trip, and the timing is rough, and I'm not a morning person, and here we are, ready to go, ready to produce, ready to give you the content that you've been looking for. How you doing today, Max?
Bro, it's 6:42 fucking a.m. in the morning in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And you know how things happen in Las Vegas, so I'm fucking tired. I'm exhausted. But
You're
yeah,
supposed to get all
and
your
we're also
sushi last
recording
night.
on different software this time. Yeah, I'll do that tonight though. We're gonna do all you can eat sushi tonight. Tonight I'm gonna eat sushi until my nose bleeds. It's gonna be great, dude. It's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna go to the place you recommended. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, so in terms of what we're gonna talk about today, simple episode. We're not getting crazy. There were some additional addendums to the IPG. Is that what it's called? IPG?
Tako Jutsu is legal.
Yeah, the
Officially.
competitive MTR IPG addendum for Commander events. Thanks to Max Molinari and crew, put together some changes that I think are great, but we'll talk about in a little bit.
I think they're wonderful. Politics are legal now.
Yeah, but in a way that's consistent. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, all these Modern Horizon 3 leaks, people are losing their ever-loving minds over some of these cards, and we're going to talk about whether or not CEDH as a format is now fucked by these cards or not. So that let's go to the addendum first. And I'll put the stuff on screen when I actually get to editing this stuff. But
Amazing.
The big one is Tako Jutsu. Where's that? It says
That is MTRA. I don't even got to look at it. That is MTRA 4.8, my guy. MTRA 4.8.
Yeah.
It's because CEDH is a social game. Players can influence others. In order to allow for fast and natural play, players may do so after an action has been taken in order to convince that action's controller to change their mind. This will naturally result in that player gaining new information, but if that information was shared in service of the decision being reversed, a judge may allow that player to do so. The judge must be sure the information was given in order to change the current play. The example they give is player B casts a counterspell targeting player A's spell. Player C tells B to hold it for something else. Player B may undo the cast. This is the greatest ruling, the greatest addendum that has ever been put on a Magic thing. I'm so happy that I can point to this now.
Well, what I like about it is it's like how we already play now. I mean, that's how we play. We play that way right now. The example I was arguing with some people when this first came out because they were like, "Oh my God, they made Pixie Baxies legal now, and it's ruining everything. And the format is dead now. And we can't accept this. Like, oh God." But that's what we do now. You cast an Orcish Bowmaster. You're like, I'm gonna ping the Llanowar Elf, and everyone's like, "What? No, dude, why are you gonna ping the Llanowar Elf? The Llanowar Elf doesn't make any sense. There's this going on, this going on. You need to ping this instead." And oh, okay, fine, right? But before that, angle shooting was a possibility where people could be like, "Nah, dude, you already declared the target." And that's just stupid. That's not how we play the game. And it creates this inconsistent environment where some tables where people are not assholes, things work fine, and then some tables you get some asshole who decides to try to angle shoot the rules and create unnatural gameplay. So I love this addendum because it fixes that and creates consistency. So now we know how it works, and we don't have to get into those little back and forth stupid angle shooting conversations. And it puts it in the hands of the right people, puts it in the hands of the judge, right? So it's one thing if you're like, I pinged the Llanowar Elf, and then 3 other game actions happen, and well, you shouldn't have pinged the Llanowar Elf because then you could have. No, that's not going to work, right?
But
in the moment,
also for anyone
will make sure
who's concerned, if anyone is concerned or worried and they're like, oh man, I gotta play against Max and he's gonna talk nonstop and try and, convince me to take back anything I do that ever targets him, they got you covered with MTRA 4.1. The active player may request the table to stop excessively influencing game actions to progress play. Failure to do so may result in unsporting conduct. Which means if you are the active player at this time, and you do not feel like politicking, and you do not want to have conversations, and you're just saying the game action I'm taking and what I want to do is final, you can tell us to shut the fuck up, respectfully. And because of the rules, we now have to shut the fuck up. So you are safe from over-politicking if it's not something you want to incorporate into your gameplay. And we are safe from people being assholes and being like, you already said you're targeting Ragavan. And people can have a conversation and safely discuss what is the optimal play in that game scenario. I love these rules. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Though I'm never going to tell people, I'm still never going to tell people to shut the fuck up. Like, dude, if I want to do something, my favorite thing is when I want to target, when I want to target something and immediately the whole table is up in arms and starts conversing about what I should be doing instead, I don't actually give a shit what they say. Like, I'm just making my own decision. I'm just getting information. Like, go on, keep talking. Tell me what you think. Like, tell me what you're concerned
100%.
about.
100%.
I'm not going to tell them to stop.
And by the way, the penalty for the unsportsmanlike conduct, we call it minor, is a turnscape. So it's significant. That's significant.
Which they did put an anecdote on the unsportsmanlike conduct minor for turnscape where they said it can be brought down to a warning.
Yeah.
If the person shows
judge's discretion. Again, this is what we want.
Discretion.
We trust our judges. We want the judges to have control of this, not the player base. That just creates a toxic environment if the players are in control of it, which is how things were. So this is better, much better. So I fully support this.
I'm down with this.
The other adjustment
I'm a much bigger fan of this document.
The other two adjustments where they made another adjustment to the buy, the players getting a buy. They lowered the win rate of the imaginary opponents that get added. So like if you get a buy, they basically adjust your win percentage. Yeah. So now it's 0.2. It was 0.3, I believe, before.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, okay. That one's interesting because they did it as a 0.33 before.
Correct, and now it's 0.2.
Okay.
So
seems
okay. Your buys.
I don't know how big that adjustment is.
Well, apparently,
which is good. I don't think buys should be worth as much as real wins.
Yeah, and I think apparently the 0.33 was not enough. It was still pushing, people ahead, right? Because 0.33 is not a terrible win percentage. 0.2 is. So that makes sense.
The other kind of update is to what draws could mean. We're not 100% sure based on the wording of this, but if you look at MTRA 2.1, the top thing on the page, which we'll have the link to this entire document in the description below, it says a match consists of a single game of Magic. In the event the game would naturally result in a draw, the match is considered to have ended in a draw. What's not 100% clear at this time, but some people are assuming what this means, is that if a top 16 game or a finals game, games that are not supposed to be able to end in a draw naturally result in a draw, let's say from a World Gorger loop or whatever would have caused that to occur, there is no winner of that game now. You used to be able to force situations, I know this was slightly more common in Europe, I believe, where a player might do essentially a scenario similar to forcing a draw in Swiss rounds to restart the game if they were in a suboptimal position. And I'm pretty sure the wording of this means that's not possible, but that's not 100% clear. So I would love to get some clarity on that from, Max or anyone else who's watching this if possible.
Yeah, and it's applied to me recently at Pun City 3 because in my top 16 game against Zane and against Tad, like it was a situation where maybe I could have forced a draw. Based on what I had on my hand, based on what was happening in play, like I could have worked a deal with Tad to force a draw. But I couldn't because the tournament organizers made it clear that if the game ended in a draw, the winner would be the person in highest seeding order coming out of Swiss, which means it would have automatically went to Zane, right? Which left me without the option of trying to force a restart with a draw. I think it's good. It's good and it's bad. It's good because like these tournaments have to finish. Like you can't keep drawing the rounds out over and over again. The tournaments have to finish, so you have to draw a line in the sand somewhere, and I think this is a reasonable way to do that. Um, it does close off some of the game theory stuff with draws, and that sucks. But at the same time,
Yeah,
like,
but for
this is never
untimed
going to be
rounds,
perfect.
though, like that is the risk for these events, right? If the untimed rounds have to restart games, that is where it gets dangerous. I will say,
Yes.
just a interesting little anecdote. I got an email about 2 days ago from Charlie's Collectible Card Show, the place in Atlanta that we've had 2 events at through TopDeck now. They're actually having a 10K at the beginning of June, which is kind of surprising to me that it's at the beginning of June because it's the same weekend as SCGCon Vegas, TopDeck Titans, like all these other things are going on. It doesn't seem like the best weekend to try and pull off that kind of random 10K. But what I noticed when I read through the event real quick is they are doing 80-minute rounds where same idea as usual, last turn is final turn, but you only have 10 extra minutes. There's no turn goes as long as it takes.
That's interesting to me.
It's only 10 minutes.
I hate that. I hate that. I hate that because our game is too complicated to have a 10-minute turn as a limiter. Like, there's just too much complication. There's interaction.
Yeah.
There's triggers. Like, it opens the door for what I consider to be toxic environment where people slow play their way through that 10 minutes, to force
That's
the
my
draw,
concern as
and
well.
I don't like that. Yeah,
No, I don't like it either.
But this also, by the way, this came up as well in Europe. There was the Slovenian Championship where my good buddy Zen made it to the top 4 table, and they ended up forcing a draw and having to reset the game. So they played 2 games, and the first game he was in a commanding position where he would have won, and the forced draw forced the reset, and then he lost the second game. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, interesting. It's an interesting rule change. I like it. I think it's you got to draw a line somewhere. You just can't play forever, right? So
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
fine
against
with
it.
that. I think that's it in terms of the rule changes. Those are the only ones. I'm in support of all of them. I reached out to Max and said, "Hey, good job. We like it."
Yeah, no, I think this one, I mean, especially compared to, but like, remember how there was an outcry from the last one? Everyone was like, what the fuck is this shit? These are much better.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this
one. Yeah, they probably need to clarify that first rule just a little bit, but other than that, I think it's great.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, so the other topic of the day is we got to discuss how CEDH the format is now dead. Because as soon as Modern Horizon 3 comes out, all these new broken cards are just going to ruin the format forever, and we all should just start playing Legacy, right?
Hot take.
That's where we're at. So sad.
Yeah.
Rep
playing
CEDH,
Modern.
I miss you.
I want 4-player Modern. I want to see what that looks like.
Oh God, just shoot me now. But yeah, so I mean, let's talk through some of these, and we could talk about whether or not they ruin the format or not. The first stuff that came out was, I think actually the new Necropotence is like the first thing I think I saw.
Necrodominance. Yeah.
Necrodominance, and it's black legendary enchantment. Skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life. If you do draw that many cards, your maximum hand size is 5. And if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So what do you think?
It's bad Necropotence. Like, no one's gonna say it's better than Necropotence, right? That doesn't exist. I guess it is kind of nice that, like, the one advantage might actually be choosing the life you pay on the end step rather than having to do it before. I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool. You do lose a little bit of synergies of, like, get my Born on top, just pay 1 into Necro, then start doing other things, see where the turn goes. Like, you lose those little bits. But the big difference here is the fact that the graveyard exiles and doesn't give you a trigger. 2 really important things for that. It means that Breach does not work through this Necropotence, which a lot of the decks that play Necro are also in red and play Breach and try and do that often with their Necro. And then it doesn't give you the get around silence effect, put triggers on the stacking cleanup phase little cheat code that Necro lets you do as well. So you lose 2 really important aspects of Necropotence for, like, Grixis or Mardu style turbo decks. That's a huge hit. Definitely a really, really big downside compared to it. Also, the maximum limit of 5 cards makes it worse for generic Necro. The play styles that I can see really utilizing this card are going to be sans red Necro decks. So if you're looking at something like Esper Zur, I think this is a snap include, right? Like, you just get a second copy of your Necro. A deck that is
Yeah,
all in
yeah,
on play Necro, pay 40 life. Like, for those decks,
yeah.
this is perfect. It's just a second copy, and there's no difference because you don't care about your graveyard. But for Breach decks, I know people are excited to try this in Rogside. I'm like, I played Rogside for a bit. I don't know. Like, obviously, it's going to work out sometimes if you draw the cards for Thoracle, but the deck is more designed to go for Breach than it is to go for Thoracle.
Yeah, there's going to need to be some testing that needs to go on, but there's a lot of interesting synergies there with Born Upon a Wind, and specifically things like Beseech the Mirror. So I draw 40 cards, I cast Born Upon a Wind, whatever. I can then Beseech the Mirror away the Necrodominance, and then I should be fine, right, at that point, right? So there's that
That's
line.
right.
There's also the fact that
mana,
these are
but...
draws. The other big difference between this and Necropotence is it's draw. So it's not you exile cards and then put them in your hand. You're drawing cards, and that means on the plus side, if you're running Shieldred, woohoo, let's go, baby. On the other hand, if someone has a Orcish Bowmasters in play or a Smothering Tithe in play, there's serious implications to it. So I think it needs to be tested a lot. There's going to be some decks that this is great in. I actually thought about it a little bit for Talion in some ways, like let's go, grab a bunch of cards maybe. Like, I don't know. We're not going to end up playing it. But I'm just saying, it's like
max hand size.
There's
5
testing to be
Talion.
done.
No.
Yeah, it's bad, but there's testing to be done in this card. I think it's pretty solid. All right, moving on to the next one.
I will say one nice thing though with the Bowmasters factor is, like, you pay the life and draw the cards in the same trigger, so it's not like pay the life then there's a reactive trigger and someone can flash it Bowmasters. Like, you are aware if the Bowmasters is there when you are resolving this trigger and choosing how much you want to draw. There's no get around for that.
Yeah, but there's gonna be like games where like you play it and now you can't draw any cards ever again or you can only draw a few cards at a time, and it doesn't, like, drawing a couple cards to this one, unlike Necropotence where you can keep the best 7, keeping the best 5 is a significant drop off. All right, so moving on to the flares is the next one. So this is a cycle, right? And there's a flare for
there's 2 good ones
each
though.
Colors. Well, I would say
the green one they haven't released the black one yet. We actually don't know what black. We don't know what black is.
We do.
But green.
We do.
Oh, you do know what black is.
We do.
All right, tell me in a second.
Yeah, we know
the green one is.
I don't remember I don't know the
green.
name of the black one. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The green one is one green. The green one is one green. You can all of these are going to function where you can exile a non-token creature of their color to free cast them. So green one green. It's a cultivate. It's literally you can sacrifice a non-token green creature to cast them, and it is a cultivate. The white one is 2 white or free sack a white non-token creature, and it's like gain back life or something like that. It's nothing too crazy.
No, so that one's a big one. So the white one is you sacrifice a non-token white creature, and then rather than pay this mana cost, and then until your end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible.
Oh, your life total can't change.
Your life total change. So you can sacrifice your Timna, cast Adnaz.
Yeah, and draw your deck. All right, that's kind of hot. That's interesting. The really good ones though that will for sure see play, like unquestionably, are Flare of Denial, which is the blue one blue free sack non-token blue creature, counter target spell, which is any spell hits creatures, hits any type of spell. This is a card people are really excited about. And it's not a card I think fits in every strategy. I know people were immediately excited about it in Kinnan. I personally have no interest in Kinnan. Some people were saying it's better than Pact of Negation. Pay 4 to recast Kinnan instead of 5 to recast for paying for Pact. And I'm like, huh? Like, one Pact is free all the time, and you don't need Kinnan, you don't need to sack something. And also, like, if you're paying 2 mana rocks and a land for Pact, it's kind of like 3 mana anyway, rather than 4 real mana to recast Kinnan. Like, I don't agree with that at all. I do like it in, I think, Thrasios decks. Thrasios is definitely something that you can get rid of if needed. I like it in Malcolm decks to an extent, as long as you're not going for a Malcolm combo. I think where it plays best is really when you're trying to Thoracle, because you're able to play Thoracle, put the Thoracle trigger on the stack, and then protect your Demonic Consultation by sacrificing the Thoracle. That seems to be the best synergy for it. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best synergy for it. I also, I know you don't like it for Italian, but I'm considering it for Italian as like the last ditch like counterspell, like to survive a turn. It's a free counterspell. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about testing it for Talion as well. Um, but I think it's a really good card, and I think there's a lot of decks that can use it really well. I think like Tibna Malcolm decks, for example, is probably a great place for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I
can
think
see
it's a
that.
good card.
Yeah, that's a Malcolm deck that
But
doesn't really care about
I think it's
Malcolm's
not the
mana
best
advantage.
flare. I think the best flare though is the red one, which is it's flare of
Copy,
duplication.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's basically
Copies the
fork.
spell.
So it's red one, and the same thing. Sacrifice a non-token red creature, and then copy target instant or sorcery. So it's a fork. So in decks like
Yeah.
Rogsai, where you don't care about Rog and you're trying to protect the win, here's a free fork. Fantastic. I
Yep.
will absolutely be including this in Florian, for example. It's real fucking good.
Yeah. Do I care about this in Ob? That's one I'll have to check on. I'll have to think about it. Florian, it's much more free to sack than Ob.
Yeah, because
One of them is a
I'm
much
trying to
more
win on my
powerful
turn.
commander.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's real good. It's real good. And all the flares are good, except for the green one. Green one sucks. The black
Yeah,
one,
the
by the
green
way,
one's
the
stressful.
black one is it's basically an edict. So you sacrifice a non-token black creature, and then each opponent sacrifices the creature with the most power.
Each opponent. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's
so
kind
it's
of
not
hard.
bad. It's not bad. But it's also, I don't think it's good enough. Like I don't want to have to, because then we're all sacrificing a creature to sacrifice creatures. So like maybe there's some deck that runs a lot of little black weenies kind of thing, and you can
Yeah, I mean it's kind
sack
of a
it.
2 for 3, I guess. You
Yeah,
could actually, I could maybe see that in Florian. You get rid of one of your buddies to just like get in because it opens a pathway, something like that.
yeah, maybe.
Something like that.
I
It's
probably won't
possible.
play it in Florian though. It's also I think
That's
it's
fair.
black and two, so it's too expensive. So I don't think I'll be doing that one. All right, what else? What else we got? What other cards? All right, so you were talking about the flute thing. I'm not as excited about that one.
Sure. I mean, I'm not like overjoyed at the concept of flute. I just think it's an interesting card. It is 2 colorless mana. It has flash. Okay. It is 2 mana. It has flash. As Disruptor Flute enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Spells with the chosen name cost 3 more to cast, and activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So it's sort of a Pithing Needle slash your spells cost more with flash. It's very interesting. I've already had some people talk to me about this card where they're excited for it and think it's just a really good hate piece, specifically for Cis-A. A lot of decks that are struggling against specifically Cis-A, if they can't play Curse Totem or Oppo effects, depending on how their deck works, like this is an answer to Cis-A that some decks can easily tutor up. My
Hmm.
problem with it is, I mean, Pithing Needle's not the best card, right? Like, it's nice to have a Pithing Needle effect, but if I'm going to have a Pithing Needle effect, I'd like it to hit more things than just one. I don't want to just hate one player out of the game. I want a Curse Totem effect that's like fully, none of you guys can do anything. And it sounds nice that this is paired with, oh, your spells cost 3 more to cast, so like you could name LED with this and cut off a breach line, that type of thing. Like those options and play patterns exist, but I think the spell cast side of it is really weak because like this is something that has flash that you want to be reactive with. And in order to stop someone from casting certain spells, more often you have to be proactive with casting it and know what they're going to cast. So does it work mid breach line? Yes, but does it work the way I want it to work most of the time consistently enough where I want to play it? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the best use for it in my mind is decks that want to run, or against decks that want to run dockside loops. So like if you're playing against Thras Rog and they want to do they want to cast dockside over and over and over again, you can respond with Disruptor Flute, make it cost 3 more, and should be able to make the loop die. That's kind of the best use of it, but it's so freaking narrow. And like you said, like ideal would be is you can cast it in response and make the opponent pay 3 more for the spell to resolve. Whereas if you're casting it in response to the spell, it's too late
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. So I think it's all right. I certainly don't
Yeah.
think it's warping. I don't think it's going to even see much play because like even like Talion's probably a decent home for it, but I don't want it in Talion either. So I don't know. We'll see. Um, yeah, that's yeah, not that exciting. What is exciting?
What
What is
you what do you
exciting?
think of that
And
random storm enchantment I sent you? It's Amphibian
Oh,
Downpour. This isn't a
yes,
card we were planning on talking about today,
yes,
but whatever. It's a 3 mana enchantment that has flash and it has storm. So you make copies of the enchantment for like each spell
yeah.
to cast this turn, and it's enchant creature. Enchant creature loses all abilities and is a blue frog creature with base power and toughness 1/1. Is that interesting, Italian?
No, I'm not paying.
As just like, oh, in like someone casts a mana rock, I spend 3 mana on end step, and I just get rid of 2 problems on the board, make them frogs. Like 2 commanders are shut down.
Yeah, it's. I think it's too
kind of
narrow. It costs 3. Yeah. I don't think that's what we want. But it's an interesting card.
I'm intrigued by that one.
It's because that's the casual player and you coming out. That's the casual player and you coming out.
I think that card's kind of cool actually. I think it's legit.
Yeah. All right. But I think in my mind, I think the most interesting card, in the new set, in my opinion, is the new power balance, and that card has potential to become a staple, perhaps. Let me find it real quick just so I can read it exactly. So power balance, it's a red enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the 2 spells have the same mana value. Ignores timing restrictions. So if you cast a Dockside and I have a Dockside on top, guess what? I get the Dockside first, right? So
yeah, but
there's a lot of interesting things here. And I've talked to some people a lot about it already. One is it has a nice benefit of clearing itself. So if you cast a spell, I reveal, it matches, that spell is now cast and the top is unknown again, which is pretty nice, because you're going to see games where
only if it matches.
People are trying to. Yeah, only if it matches, right? It's like counterbalance. It's exactly like counterbalance. But it's sort of like value counterbalance, because in my mind, the best state is going to be, you're going to develop your board faster because people cast mana rocks, you get mana rocks too, hooray. Where things get crazy busted is if there's multiple power balances in play, and they start bouncing off of each other. So you cast a Dockside, I cast a Dockside, the other guy with power balance also casts his Dockside. And then my power balance triggers again, and I cast something else. It just gets,
right. But that's not actually going to happen. You know what I mean? Like that's my problem with this card in comparison to Counterbalance, which is obviously its sister, right? The way that Counterbalance works, for one thing, stopping your opponent from doing something they're trying to do is more powerful than you getting random value. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Like generically, 100%. That is a more powerful thing. If you also look at the play patterns of Counterbalance, what's so nice about it is the play patterns of you are often playing it with situations where you draw cards. And when you are a deck built on the resource advantage of drawing cards, in blue, that often leads you towards a more controlling strategy, like Talion, Mizzet. Those are the decks that really efficiently use Counterbalance. Right. So they work super well with that play pattern. The problem with Power Balance is that random generic value doesn't actually matter. You're not stopping anyone from doing anything. You're not preventing your opponents from doing anything. And like, if I'm winning the game, I don't give a shit what random card you spin to off the top. It doesn't matter to me because I know it's not stopping me no matter what. So this isn't the card I'm really afraid of. It's just, oh, you might get some random value. Like what? The big risk is I force of will someone and you have an Adnos on top. Like, but that, like, how often is that actually going to occur? You know what I mean? That's my concern with it. And if you look at like density of like you're playing this in red, you want to be proactive, because if you're a deck that has controlling features, if you're a deck that's like, oh, I'm playing blue, like that means you're spinning into counters actually isn't the worst thing, I guess, in response to people's stuff, because if it can counter the spell, that's like not the worst thing in the world, but then you might have used your counter spell on something not worth it. So like I don't care, if you cast an Arcane Signet and have a mana drain on top, I'm not doing that, right?
So I think there's
really.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you the most part, especially like I think a lot of people are thinking this is going to warp the entire format, and going to like destroy, and it's going to be like the end of the world. I don't agree with that. I think that there are certain decks that this is extremely powerful for, and those are decks that are already on sort of a mid-range plan, running red and blue and top, and specifically.
Say what?
What was that?
Florian's probably a good deck for this. Just ran.
Yeah,
Florian's
I'm going to
a good
run
deck
this in
for
Florian for sure. Yeah, Florian definitely runs this, but because again, it's running Sensei's Divining Top already. It's running Bullets of Citadel. This works very well, sort of in that combination. The best deck for it is Elsha, because Elsha gets to know what the top is. It plays Sensei's Divining Top. It wants to get value over time. It's perfect for Elsha. I think it's a very, very powerful card for Elsha. I think for Mardu strategies that run Citadel, like Shivers, Chapel of Chernobyl, the Timno Jessica list, I think it's a natural fit there as well. It makes sense because you're running top already. It works, right?
Yeah.
The last
I'm
one.
not saying it should never see any play, but I think you have to be a proactively focused deck, so you're fine with getting random value. You don't want to be spinning.
Yes. Yeah, I think Stella Lee is the other one that I think it'll see some play in. I think that's a good spot for it as well, because you get the play pattern where it triggers, you get to cast a second spell, you get to clear the top. Like it gives you a little bit more value there. I think it needs to be tested, but I think it'll play well in Stella. But that's it. Like the other decks, I think like people are talking about jamming it into Roxai or jamming it into Blue Farm, and I think it won't stick in either of those. Yeah.
Who fucking cares? Someone casts an Enlightened Tutor and you get a Dark Writ? Like, okay, good for you. Who gives a fuck? Like,
yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the way it's going to play out for the most part. But I think we're going to see it in a lot of decks at first until people realize it's just not quite good enough.
Not good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I tested it the other day and there was like 4 turns where I'm like, oh, look, it's a land. Proceed. Does nothing. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, next one, what else we got on this list here? We got, you want to do 6?
6 is a legendary green creature that costs 2 and a green. It is a tree folk. It has reach. It is a 2/4. Whenever it attacks, you mill 3 cards, and you may put a land card from among them into your hand. And the most important ability, as long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. This is very interesting. It essentially gave green a Savin's Reclamation to an extent. Like that version of it. One thing it allows is Sans white intuition piles with green, where you can do like Underworld Breach, Reanimate, and 6, and that guarantees you have access to Underworld Breach, so it gives you those types of lines that are very, very interesting. Some people have talked about it in Kinnan as just like a way to get back your pieces, like, cool, go get back my Basalt. Or I know someone was talking to Kinnan Discord today, they're like, you could -4 Tezzeret just to get Basalt, but that will kill Tezzeret, which puts him in the graveyard, so that if you have 6, you can retrace the Tezzeret if you have 2 more blue, to then get the other half of the combo. Like, it does self-assemble some things really, really well. It's a cool card. That's one I'm not developed in my opinion of it yet. I like just read it for the first time yesterday, and it's very interesting. It's definitely playable. I'm not sure which strategies will want it yet, but it's fucking cool.
I like it. I wish it was more broken, to be honest, because green deserves a little bit more broken. Like the fact that it says it only triggers when you attack. Like I wanted to say whenever it ETBs or attacks, because then you could really break it. Then you start like have strategies where you can, flicker it and then, win the game with it. And I think it deserves to be that broken. But sadly, as we know, Wizards fucking hates green, and this is like sort of the backhanded compliment to green, for this set. It's like here's a card that's very good, very playable, but not broken. What a shame.
Yeah.
What a shame. And then I think the other card that I'm probably most excited about, I'm not most excited about, I'm very excited about, I think it's opened some interesting new strategies, is the, how do you say it, the Chutithin Nightmare? How do you say it?
Cthulhian Nightmare.
Culian Nightmare. Who comes up with these names?
Yeah.
Seriously, what the fuck? Like,
lore nerds.
Make it pronounceable, like Esmeralda, Calda, blah blah blah. Like, come on, just normal names, people, normal names. But what it is like recurring nightmare. Let me find it so I can read it real quick here.
I mean, I have it pulled up right here. I got you.
Yeah,
talking about Cthulhian Nightmare?
Yeah, read it.
Okay. Cthulhian Nightmare. It is a 1 and a black enchantment. When Cthulhian Nightmare enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You can then pay X energy, sacrifice a creature, return Cthulhian Nightmare to its owner's hand, return target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. This is literally a power crept recurring nightmare for CEDH. which
Yes.
is fucking insane when you think about it. Like, it's absolutely fucking insane. Goes infinite with Dockside and a ham sandwich. Like, it's so easy, right? Like, what does the Dockside count have to be? You
So
need to
raw,
you
raw
need
it's
to
5. Raw it's 5. So you need Dockside count of 5 because you pay 2 to cast the Nightmare. You do the sack. You bounce
pay
Nightmare.
2 to
you have
cast it again.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then as long as Dockside count is
so
5, you net 1. Or if you have something that gives you 1 extra mana, like if you have Burgee in play. If you have Burgee in play, this goes infinite with
Dockside
3.
count 3.
Yeah.
That's fucking ridiculous.
So it's really good. It opens up some interesting strategies. Yeah, and the other cool thing about it is you play it and you don't have to do anything with it. Like, you can just sit there, right? You don't have to. It's not like Animate Dead where you cast it and it's done. Like, you can cast it and sit on it. Like, and that's fine.
I really like it. I really like it in Omnixilus. One of the things about Ob is some of my cards are better on my turn and some of my cards are better on your turn. So I really like the fact that I can swap between like a Kessig Flame Breather and a Caderic Parasite every turn, and just be like, okay, for the turn cycle I want my Parasite, for my turn I want my Flame Breather. You know what I mean? Like, the ability to kind of swap what type of value piece I have on the board for the situation, I think is really, really cool. Additionally, it's a non-creature spell that is going to trigger my things. So, like, people talk about Ob being a bad infinite mana deck because he's not personally an outlet, but if you actually look at the vast quantity of outlets that count with this card, where, I mean, you're talking Dockside, Reckless Fireweaver, Bowmasters, Disciple of Vault, Mayhem Devil, Firebrand Archer, Kessig Flame Breather, etc., etc. Like, it keeps going. So many things end up functioning as an outlet to win the game with this card. So I'm really excited for it. 1 in a black is crazy for a recurring Nightmare effect. I can't believe they didn't make this cost 3.
And it generates energy too. Like, so you get infinite treasures and infinite energy. So, and it seems like there's more and more energy mechanic cards coming out in the set. So we'll see. It may even be better than we think, right? So that card's, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine.
It's my favorite card. I think
cards.
it's my favorite card in the set so far. Like, I love it. I love it. I think it opens a whole new like strategy like that. Now Dockside loops infinite, goes beyond just, having to have a meal in Dockside or Curio in Dockside. Now you just need Rakdos. You don't need any other colors to get a Dockside loop going. Pretty hot. And then the last one is Italian. Going to be Italian staple. You want to read that one?
Kinnan staple as well. Are we talking the MDFC land?
Yeah.
Probably, honestly, I'm just as excited for this card as I am for Culian Nightmare. This is Sink into Stuper, a uncommon MDFC land that costs 1 blue on its face side and says, instant, return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. It is literally, it's 1 blue more, but it is a upgraded Unsubstantiate, where Unsubstantiate is target spell or target creature. This is target spell or target non-land permanent. Which means this gets around uncounterable effects. Someone tries to Cavern of Souls in their Grand Abolisher, get fucked. Someone tries to Hallbreaker Horror, get fucked. This is like one of the few things that actually works against those abilities. On like 3 mana, obviously that's more than you want to play for interaction, but that is not too much by any means. That is still a very playable amount. And the backside of it, the reason I'm so excited for this, it is not a tap land. It is a Bolt Yourself untapped blue source. This card's wild. Yeah. I'm so excited for this card, and I love that it is, because it's a mono blue land, this is one of those few blue cards we get that the low color decks get to profit off of, and the 4 color piles don't. Because I don't think this is good enough that Blue Farm or anything plays it, but it is an upgrade for decks like Talion and Kinnan. So we, for a rare change, get a power upgrade that they don't, and that feels great, because I'm used to them getting everything we get as well. So this is, I'm very excited for this card.
Yeah, very, very good card. I think it'll see, like you said, in 2 color decks, a lot of play. Like, I think in a lot of decks it's going to replace Seagate Restoration. In a lot of decks it'll be in addition to Seagate Restoration. So
yeah, I think in Talion it would be good to have both, because we have so many blue pitch cards, like, Misdirection, Subtlety, Force, Chrome Mox. Like, that's enough where I just want more pitch cards. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and we get to go down on land, so you're drawing less dead lands, in some games here. It's very good, very, very
3 life
good.
is nothing. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care at all, not at all. Okay, is that the last one? I think that's it, right?
That was the last one on our quick list for ones that we thought are like actually really playable cards and we're excited about and they're cool. Like there's a lot of powerful cards in the set. We'll end up doing a set review eventually where we'll go over things in more detail. But for now, we just want to kind of talk about some of these because the spoilers are coming out rapidly and everyone is talking about it. Everyone's really excited and this looks like it's going to be a little rejuvenation for CEDH, maybe a little shakeup of the format to some extent, which is exciting because the format, I think a lot of people agree, has gotten a little bit stale in these last couple months. We're just living in Blue Farm's world and trying to survive there. So I would love some cards that allow some other decks to start pushing through and competing at that tier. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. But that's it. I mean, that's all we got today. So I think you wanna close this out.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening to the Colors of Crutch podcast. We know it might be a little different with the recording style and the audio and stuff today. Please give us a little bit of slack. Max here is on a business trip in Vegas, doesn't have his normal setup. If you enjoy our show, please do not forget to like and subscribe. If you want to support us even more, you can also sign up for our Patreon. We've got lots of fun tiers. If you want to join the conversation outside of YouTube, we have a Discord as well. Links to Patreon and Discord are going to be in the description below, as well as the links to this document and maybe some MTG rumor spoil sites if you want to look at the cards as well. My name is Max Stern, also known as Mundo Satellite. I offer CEDH coaching if that's something you're interested in. And I was joined by my incredible, amazing co-host, Max P, the Italian Man.
Thanks, guys.